last week there was a lot of news that came out of the Disney camp. We're going to be focusing on quite a bit of that next week. This week, we're going to be focusing on the bit of news that came out about the NBA experience. It closed down for COVID. It's never reopened. And so we're going to talk about that today. What we think it should become on The Mouse and Men, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. I'm Bradley. I'm here with my co-caster, Chris. Chris, how you doing?
Good, buddy. I'm sad about the NBA experience. I know that when we were there in person 2 years ago, we were at Disney Springs the day of the opening, and all the hubbub and the excitement, and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was there. Several NBA players were there to all bring a lot of excitement about this, and it looked like the cool, new, fun thing to do at Disney Springs. But then just a few months later, I guess it wasn't even open, maybe 6-8 months before it closed due to COVID, and just never reopened. And so hearing that they're going to keep it closed, it's sad to know that it barely got 6 months worth of trying to prove itself before COVID shut it down, and now it's just closed for good. So, but what we are good at, even though we have some sadness in our heart about the NBA experience, is reimagining it for ourselves. So that's what we were going to do, and I'm pumped about diving into any Reimagineering episode.
Chris, we've done this before, reimagining things. We've got kind of a low-cost option. We've got bring in some Disney IP, and we've got a just go nuts, blank check kind of thing. So we'll get through all that. I also have to say, before we really get started, it's rare that something that Disney, I don't know how many millions of dollars were invested in this. I don't know if the NBA put forth some money as well. I don't know how that works out. But it hasn't had a lot of time open, like you said. Just a few months, and then closed for COVID, and then just never reopened the doors. So it's rare for something not to get kind of a longer shelf life, but just a rare swing and a miss.
I love the way that you said it yesterday. It was like a rare air ball. Something to that effect.
It's a brick.
A brick, yeah, that was what it was. Yeah.
So if swing and a miss is a baseball reference, it's a brick in for basketball.
I agree. And I did hear that it was an official partnership between both the Disney and the NBA. So I don't know if that meant like 50-50 partners or what. And so because of that, then maybe, if you are 50% owner or less, or maybe a bit more, depending on what the actual deal was, Disney doesn't have 100% say in this. And so if it may have been a NBA decision to not open it up, we're going to focus elsewhere, or it could have been a joint decision or whatever it was. But regardless, it does seem bizarre. And again, even in these unprecedented times that we've had in the last year and a half or so with COVID, that it just seems bizarre that Disney wouldn't give something like that a bit more of a chance at success. But maybe early numbers came back before COVID even hit, that it wasn't something that was going to be performing like they thought it could.
Yeah. And maybe they were looking at the long game of something with so many touch points, like physical touch points, just wasn't going to do well with the public. I don't know. So so it's time for us, knowing that it's not going to be reopening, it's time for us to put on our Reimagine. So, Chris, lead us off.
Yeah, okay, so just to update on it, everybody, like you said at the beginning of the show, so when we do a Reimagineering episode, we each take 3 chances. 1, just kind of a cheap, quick option. 2, we try to influx some Disney IP into an attraction, or in this case, a store or an experience. And then 3, just go nuts. And so for me, first of all, my low-cost option, this may feel like, or it may sound like I'm cheating, but I really mean this. Like you and I, we went to the NBA experience. We did experience the NBA experience. I would like for more people to. So my low-cost option is just open it back up. It's right there. At this point, again, I don't know what all the decisions have been made. They kept the staff on hold from the time that it shut down last March or maybe early April, all the way until they let them go officially in October. So it's a rehiring process, but the NBA experience is still sitting right there. I'm sure the signage is still out at Disney Springs and all that stuff has not been put away yet. So just open it back up. But I will say that you and I, having gone there and having the chance to be there on opening day, there was a lot of hubbub. There was NBA inside stuff, or one of those talking head shows going on while we were inside there. We saw a lot of luminaries in the basketball world. It seemed like a really cool thing. Once all that stuff settled down and we walked back in, we realized that there's a lot of fun stuff to do, but much like a lot of things at Disney, it's expensive. And oftentimes for me, when I think of Disney Springs, I'm like, okay, finally something that I can do Disney, very low cost or free options. And then, it's like an outdoor mall sort of thing. So you're still going to be paying for items that you purchase or food that you eat. But generally you can walk around Disney Springs and have a good time window shopping for free. And so maybe much like I've seen other places around Disney that people walk in and they get the sticker shock. That I thought I was coming into the NBA experience to experience something, only to find out I need to now shell out more money. So maybe my option of just opening it back up is opening it back up with a little more clarity or pricing tier option, something right there, so that the average Joe coming off the street can still have some of the experience without having to do everything or paying all that money. Because I think it was it's something like $60 to do the experience, over $100 to do the experience per person. And I don't remember the exact cost, but I remember when you and I were there, it felt exorbitant that now I have to pay an additional fee to go get the actual experience. I can shop, but to go get the experience, I have to pay more.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the biggest complaint that I was seeing, that when it closed down, people were saying, you know what, it was too expensive for me to take my family anyways. So we're not going to miss it. Also, though Orlando has the Orlando Magic, NBA franchise. I don't know that it's an NBA town. It's more of an entertainment town. Just looking at this, the cost of a one-day admission for NBA experience is $34 plus tax for 18 and up, $29 plus tax for children's 3 to 9. This is off of the Google, so I'm not sure if you're between 9 and 18. I don't know what it is, but around $34, $35 is kind of ballpark what you can pay. But yeah, I don't know that it had the draw of something. I mean, you and I have been to the College Football Hall of Fame and Museum, and it's got an experience. So you go through the museum, and it's a couple floors. It talks about tailgating. It talks about how modern offenses have developed, that sort of thing. You can nerd out and have a great time. And then, of course, there's the Hall of Fame where all the players are. Then at the end, there's this kind of mini experience. And college football, as rabid as it is, what they had was you could try to kick an extra point, which is more difficult than you think. Then you ran a little route between, some padded dummies to catch a pass. And then you got to, and this is kind of like your fair games. You got a football and you try to get it in 3 or 4
weave it through
rings. Yeah. But that's all the experience they had. So in college football, which, I mean, it's got rabid fans, more rabid than just about any other sport. If that's all they have, how are they going to do this other thing that's $34 and going to bring people in? I am a fan of the San Antonio Spurs, but that alone is not enough for me to go do the NBA experience. I would have done it just to see what it is, so that here we could tell other people what was going on. But like you were saying, we were there on opening day. It was kind of a media only thing. We're not part of that cool club, at least not yet, so we couldn't get in. But I was looking forward to trying it next time we went. Now I know that we won't be trying it, but yeah, it was a brick. So, what would be your first kind of, hey, we need, and basically in this case it would be, we just need to reopen this thing, use this space. What would be your first option for getting this back open?
Yeah. Again, talking a bit about what my first option would be, just to open it back up, would be the first one, but using the pricing tiers, or make it to where even if you're walking in off the street, you can still experience part of the NBA experience without maybe paying all of it. That maybe there's, kind of like a fair option to where maybe you're pumping quarters into one of those, how many things can you shoot thing, almost like an arcade, to where there's like a low cost or no cost option for people that are like, oh, this thing is $35 a piece. That's a little too steep for me, but I'll play $5 worth of how many shots I can get. And maybe they have a couple of options like that. I just remember the experiences where you pay money and then you go and you do drills. You kind of do some of the same exercises that actual NBA players do. You shoot with somebody in your face to see how difficult it is. Like, so you can get an experience of being an NBA type player. And so I guess the idea around the NBA partnering with Disney to bring something like this to Disney Springs is like, okay, most of the people that are going to Disney Springs, their families, people that are going to Disney World, but still, maybe there still needs to be a, forgive my short-sightedness for saying it like this, but like a masculine something to do at Disney Springs. Another one of those options, like what you and I did. We went to the cigar lounge. We went to the NBA experience. Those types of things that maybe speak more to a masculine or male person down there. But so maybe they're thinking that, like, hey, if there's maybe a typical American family, or let's take my family. I'm married to my wife. I've got a son and a daughter. So maybe while the girls are off shopping, the boys will go spend $70 and have the NBA experience. And that makes a lot of sense. But when I'm paying thousands of dollars to be down there, another $70 on top of it to just kind of walk in off the street, it doesn't appeal to me and my son. If it were cheaper, maybe if it was $20 a piece, it's like, that's a little easier to throw $20 at something versus 35 times 2. Now I'm looking at $70 versus $40. That's too expensive for me. I'd rather take that money and go get one of those cool boozy ice cream sandwiches down the way at Disney Springs. So that's my idea. Make it clearer what the experience is, and then offer pricing options in the experience instead of you get everything for $35, $70 if you're bringing a loved one or a family member or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. I think my thought was kind of along the same lines. So what? And yes, if it's $70 or you've got a family of 4, you're looking at $140. Now it's like, geez, do I really have to do that after paying thousands of dollars? Maybe there is something where if you're staying on property, you get a big discount.
Yes.
But you mentioned arcade, and I think that's kind of the first thing where I was going to go. As there used to be a couple of arcades around the Disney property on different resorts. They've disappeared. Is there still a market for that? I don't know. With you could do little cards, debit cards, basically. Mom and dad go in. It's like, hey kids, here's $20, and the kids just go swipe the card until they use up their $20. And you've got different games. That would be a cool use of space just to get it open. And maybe, I don't know, if you gave everybody on property, who's staying on property $5 to go spend there. I don't know
That's
how.
cool.
I mean, not everybody's going to take advantage of it, but if you give them a $5 credit and then they go spend $25, it's an easy. I mean, you can make it back pretty easily. So but some sort of arcade, especially with technology now. You know, whether it's VR experiences or whatever. The graphics are pretty great, so you could have some sort of arcade thing there. I think that could be really cool. Now, because you mentioned arcade, I will kind of add another direction that I would go.
Is this option 2 or 1.1/B?
Yeah. This is 1B. So,
gotcha.
What if, because you mentioned something a little more masculine. Now that doesn't mean it's a He-Man Woman Haters Club like the Little Rascals, but it's something that would generally appeal to men, probably more than women. Disney has some great Disney has some great golf options. So, what if, and this kind of came to me last minute before we started recording. What if there was a VR golf experience?
Ooh, like go play 18, but never leave the air conditioning, sort of thing.
Yeah, you can play 18. You can have a little executive course that's 9 holes, or a par 3 9-hole thing, and you and your son go play that while your wife and daughter go shopping, kind of thing. But also, what if you could have like a golf experience where you could pull up, maybe there's special parking for this, so that you can unload your clubs.
Oh, cool.
Give them to a caddy. So instead of going to the golf course, you show up here, you get a virtual driving range. You could also have some space where you can do a golf club fitting. But if you do the virtual range, you're here, maybe you take in a couple of clubs, but you don't have to carry all your clubs in.
Yeah.
There's a caddy stand next to the VR golf parking in that garage nearby. So you drop off your clubs. You say, you know what? I'm going to take my driver. I'm going to take my 7-iron, and I'm going to take like my hybrid club, maybe my putter. I don't know if you'd want to take your putter in, but you go in, you get ready, and then it's kind of like Top Golf, where you can just kind of mill around, get something to drink, get a snack. When it's ready for your caddy to take you to your golf course, they've got it all planned out. They know exactly how long it's going to get there for your tee time. You are escorted to this car right there at the curb. Your clubs are already in the back, and you just hop in, and they take you to basically the first tee box. They drop you off. You get your cart. You go to your first tee box, and it's all ready to go. So that's kind of, you got the space. You can basically set up, I don't know what they call them, driving range cages, like a batting cage, but you line those up and you can have this kind of VR experience in there, getting warmed up. Then they take you to your golf course, whichever one it may be there on property.
I love the idea that you're even setting the experience up as they're getting out of the vehicle. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And it can be for them, and it can be for anyone just going through. Do they want a golf club fitting? They can get that there, have it picked up, and maybe somebody if either the clubs are delivered or the clubs can be carried to your car for you, something like that. But it can also be kind of a walk off the street kind of experience as well.
Yeah, dude, I love this. Yeah, this is great. So it keeps it kind of in a sports theme. We're now just trying a different sport here. So my point one was just reopen the NBA, having a basketball experience still, and then yours is let's do golf. That's brilliant, especially starting the experience much like you would at a nice high end country club or something like that. That like they will pick you up, they will get your clubs from you, they will caddy you, or they will cart you right in. Dude, I think I would actually do that. And especially in a place where, like Orlando, to where maybe Disney does have a couple of 18-hole golf courses around property, but it's middle of it's Central Florida, where weather is always going to be an issue. If you can figure out how to do the VR experience, you have your buddies, and like instead of going out to the actual golf course, come do it in there where you can continue to drink your beer. You've got a server right there helping you out, maybe a caddy that'll tell you where the dog legs are. Coming up even on the virtual courses. I love this idea.
Yeah, it could be a virtual Top Golf kind of experience as well. So I think there's a lot of ways you can go with that. I don't know if the price point would be any better. I don't know if it would be more intriguing. I mean, Top Golf is pretty popular, so I don't know. I think this could work. And like you said, in Orlando, in Florida, where it rains just about every afternoon, you're safe from the rain, and you can have not just your traditional 18-hole golf course, but you can have different skill games as well. Longest drive, trick shots, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I love that. And again, since it's virtual, maybe you partner with other courses around the world or something. And so you go have your company party there, but instead of doing it like you did last week and playing the Orlando Metropolitan Golf Course, maybe you're playing some cool place in Scotland or something instead. And so there's always refresh options there also. Yeah. That's really smart, man. I like that idea a lot.
So let's bring in some Disney IP now. How would you incorporate Disney IP into this space?
All right. So my number two, incorporating Disney IP. I'm going for maybe a little less on the nose, especially in 2021 when Disney owns Marvel and it owns the Avatar franchises with James Cameron, and it owns Star Wars and National Geographic and all this. Some of my favorite things, and yours as well, I know that we talk about this a lot, are the things that Walt did way back in the day. We love the way that he set up Disney from this little animation studio that then did these bigger pictures, full feature-length films, doing documentaries that then moved into making actual theme parks. And so he kept gradually growing all this stuff. One of my favorite things that combined all of that growing up when I was little is Sunday Night, The Wonderful World of Disney. And this, again, before my time, Walt Disney himself used to host The Wonderful World of Disney, and it had a couple of different iterations and a couple of different names, but it typically was Walt Disney coming and talking about these new fun things that are coming to Disney. And it was kind of an advertisement for some documentary that they're doing about lions in Africa, or ones that we've seen from some of the documentaries that he did from South America, but he would always promote them here. And I wonder if Disney Springs is a place that could have a Disney IP like The Wonderful World of Disney, where you walk in and it's almost like, and maybe it's actually it could be called Wonderful World of Disney, or it could be called Disney's World Fair. Especially while Walt was alive, he was really involved in the World's Fairs and showing technology. Then he would move those things onto property eventually, which what came the attractions at Disneyland and then Magic Kingdom. Blah, blah, blah. All that to say that, like, if it was almost kind of a walking World's Fair where you walk in and you see some of the new technology that they're working on, or a new movie that's coming out. Like I used to love going to the World of Animation over at MGM Studios / Hollywood Studios, learning about new movies that are coming out. But it's like one place where you can go and you walk in and you're just inundated with all of this neat. ever-changing Disney stuff that like weekly it's moving there, it's curated like a museum, and maybe there are old pieces where Walt actually like, here's the actual first carousel of progress and this is neat, but what's coming up new is this new Pixar movie that's going to be amazing. Like something that I walk in and I'm just enveloped in the world of Disney in a way that kind of like we were, or like we could have been had we visited the World's Fair in the 60s or even earlier than that. So that's my idea of turning it into a World's Fair, ever changing, ever moving. One of the examples or one of the issues that we heard about Disney Quest is that eventually the technology at Disney Quest was kind of behind what you could actually buy, a video game for $50, go home and play it. You actually have a better experience at home than you can go pay an exorbitant rate to go have a Disney Quest experience, that the technology caught up to the experience. And so with that, this would be an ever-changing, ever-morphing, you walk in and it's a new thing to excite you, much like the Wonderful World of Disney did for me when I was growing up. And then in generations before me, even my parents watching actually Walt Disney talking about all the new things coming. So that's my idea. So for 2 is Wonderful World of Disney / Disney's World Fair.
I love it. And you wanting to incorporate Walt himself, I was kind of tracking with, we've been hanging out too much. Maybe we've done too many of these Reimagineering segments, but we're thinking along the same lines. Once again, one man's dream. It's a great little thing that gets missed.
Love it. Yep.
Take that, put it in this building, make it bigger. You can expand on it. You can incorporate some of that of what's coming next. But if you take that and put that here, that opens up a little bit more room in the park for something else. But I was thinking some sort of a Disney museum. Maybe it's one man's dream combined with, I believe the Disney Family Museum, I think is up near San Francisco.
Yes.
In more Northern California. Bring some of those kind of elements in. You can bring in some of the Disney archives kind of stuff. You can make this something that can change, but it's kind of an on-property Disney museum. Maybe it's ticketed, maybe it's not. I'm not sure. One man's dream is not ticketed because it's inside a theme park, so you're already paying $100-something to get in. I don't know if they need to charge that in this space or not. Maybe they do need to charge $15 or something. But I think that would be cool, and especially for people who really love what Walt did, what his legacy continues to do. I think this would be kind of a cool experience to fill that spot.
I agree. And I feel like that with something like One Man's Dream, it can be more of a permanent fixture that does maybe have some moving, like seasonal pieces, but that's something that doesn't have to be continually curated and continually updated, like my idea of doing the Disney's World Fair sort of thing. But man, again, it's one of those things. It's why Epcot has become more of a popular destination for me as a father, as a husband, as a man in his 40s. I love to go and to use the experience at Disney to learn or to be educated in a way of like One Man's Dream was teaching me more about Disney himself. I went in there and I spent more than an hour in One Man's Dream when my poor kids and my wife, because she was having to keep them together because I really wanted to experience it. But the kids, again, this was probably 8-9 years ago now. They could have cared less about being there. They didn't even really know who Disney was other than the guy who created this place that they were at. But for me, like I wanted to dive in even more. And the only reason that I didn't spend more time there and read even more little placards and information about Disney is because I knew that the kids were out there wanting to go ride the next the Star Tours or whatever it was.
Yeah, I agree. So now this sets the stage for blank check. What are you gonna do if money's no option? If you could just pull a rabbit out of a hat, what is Chris designing for this space?
All right, so this is actually something that I believe could be a little bit of this specific space's what am I trying to say? It's identity, which is first it was Disney Quest, which is something you could go and experience, and then they had a place called the actual NBA experience. So it's getting hands-on kind of stuff. My thought is one of the fastest growing areas of entertainment these days is e-gaming. There are, I think that I've heard statistics that by a large margin, that if you compared the World Series, the NBA Finals, and the Super Bowl and combined those audiences all in one, that still does not meet who watched like the League of Legends e-gaming championship kind of thing. That it is worldwide, especially in other countries. It is now the largest sport in the world, and it's something that you can do from the comfort of your own home on a PS4 controller or PS5 or a Xbox or whatever it may be. It is the future. It is where I will probably have my favorite Grand Theft Auto team that I will in the future, like, oh, I can't wait for those guys to go out and beat the other team, sort of thing. Or maybe it's a retro league where it's like, I think Team Dottie is going to win the Pac-Man League, whatever. It's all these retro and future games, an area to where you go and you are immersed in the world, similar to the NBA experience, the world of e-gaming. And e-gaming, again, there's some retro items like old school playing Galaga or Pac-Man, but then there are League of Legends and World of Warcraft and I forget all the ones. If my son was here, he would like shake his head. I can't believe I'm missing all these good names. But that's something that, because games are what they are, that they are always evolving themselves. But then there are other games that are so popular to where they create their own leagues around them that are played. But this is the Orlando destination for that. This is the Disney e-gaming spectacular or experience or institute or whatever you may say. But it is a place that's similar to the NBA experience. You can go and you can get the latest game. You can go and find retro versions of games. You can go and actually put your hands on a controller and learn from a person who is a semi-pro or a pro e-gamer and actually bring your skills up to par. Now, this is something that the parents would pay for because the kids would be begging for, whereas maybe other experiences out there, it's more adult oriented. And again, I'm not exactly sure of that answer, but this is focusing on future generations and the kids of where they are now versus going to Disney Quest and getting there all excited that I'm going to go play some cool virtual reality game and realize like, oh, the graphics are a bit dated or this game is a bit old. That the e-gaming store or the experience will continue to evolve as new games come out and become popular. But you can go battle your friends with a game there, or you can go and watch an actual Orlando-based competition, or like they do with all these other things. This can be the place where at Disney, much like you with baseball years ago, went there to play games and to do tournaments and camps and stuff. This could be the e-gaming destination for those same type of activities, but just in the video game space. So my idea for money's no object is that I think that money is no object is how much that Disney would rake in if they had something like this, because this is where we as a trying to entertain ourselves in the future are looking towards. Video games aren't going anywhere. They're actually bigger now than they've ever been, and they're now surpassing and eclipsing these major sports that we grew up loving, like baseball and football, basketball, all these. E-gaming is the future, and that's why Disney Springs should have the Orlando e-gaming central right there in the space.
I love it. It makes sense. Like you said, e-gaming is huge. If it's a destination where you can have competitions, you can go and it's kind of like an arcade on steroids, where you can go and you can challenge. You can have, I don't know who the greats are in e-gaming, but some big name people come in and, I don't know, you can kind of challenge their high scores or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
That would be fun. I totally see that is kind of a cool thing, because also e-gaming, it's not just for kids in college, in high school, in middle school. You've got guys and girls who are making a living doing this stuff. It's it's just that big. Chris, I think what I would do if I could design anything for this space is something that you and I have talked about. I don't know if we've talked about it on this show, but there is a nostalgia for rides that have disappeared or rides that have changed. And this is a little bit getting back to that Disney Quest. But if there was a place where you could go and basically you're selecting the year, the park, and the ride, you can go back and you can ride anything that has disappeared. There used to be little swans that would go around the castle there in the Magic Kingdom. In the Magic Kingdom, there used to be Mr. Toad's Wild Ride that was replaced with Winnie the Pooh. Pirates of the Caribbean before Jack Sparrow made his entrance. All these different things. Soon with Splash Mountain being rethemed for Princess and the Frog, some people may want to go see the original Splash Mountain. You could also have it where they do different character or seasonal overlays. So, say, we only get down there every few years, or maybe this is our one shot. We've always wanted to come at Christmas. We just couldn't make it work. We can go see the Christmas overlay. Why am I now blanking on the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay
okay. Not so scary
for the Haunted Mansion? Yeah. So that sort of stuff. Go in and you've got this VR experience. It's got a little bit of that Disney Quest feel to it that, everybody loved it, but like you said, the technology just needed to be updated. The technology now, the VR now, maybe it's reached a point where, okay, it can sit like this for a while. Maybe we'll improve it later, but it can sit like this. People are going to love it for a decade or two, and that would be a good investment. Playing on the nostalgia of what Disney World, Disneyland used to be, can be kind of a cool experience.
Dude, I love this idea. I know that you and I have talked about it in the past. Like, wouldn't it be cool is if like we could play a video game that has the old rides on it, but this is like, you're there. And then I think it helps to answer the question too, with a lot of people like, I cannot believe they're taking this ride out and replacing it with this other thing. It's never going to be as good kind of thing. And yet Disney, one of the guiding principles, we talked about this quote before we started, that like Disney himself said, as long as there's imagination in the world, Disneyland will never be complete. And that kind of ethos for Disney specifically, regardless of any attraction at any of the parks around the world now, that it's always evolving. But now there's a repository. Now there's a time machine that you can take to go back to those old, maybe for you, old codger, a preferred version of a ride, whether it be Space Mountain or the original Haunted Mansion or the original Pirates Before Jack Sparrow kind of idea. I loved the idea of being able to like, oh, you don't get them in the parks anymore? Come over to Disney Springs. You can still ride the ride. It's right there. Yeah. It's just in a virtual place now versus being able to actually participate there, which, it's almost like a growing museum of what the parks used to be. That again continue to ever evolve as new things are brought out of the parks, so you can still go experience them, just do it virtually. I love that.
So in one of your favorites, Spaceship Earth, it's gone through several voiceovers. So you can go ride Spaceship Earth, but with your favorite voiceover actor that's done it, that maybe not is currently doing the voiceover for it. So cool. Okay. I've got a 3B that I just came up with. Especially if you've got kids who've read these young adult books, I've read a couple. They're the Kingdom Keepers, and it's a series about these kids that work in the parks that go back at night to solve mysteries. What if you had some sort of Kingdom Keepers escape room where it's virtual? So again, you go in and maybe it's VR goggles. I don't know, but you've got full run of the park. So maybe your escape room is the animal kingdom, and you've got to go find different things in different animal cages, different animal exhibits, whatever. But it's all virtual. Disney escape rooms. I'm just saying, it could be
Dude,
really awesome.
I love that idea. I mean, escape rooms I feel like they've never been more popular either, popping up everywhere. Disney should be on that train because
Yeah.
I think that that's somewhere that where their creativity of Imagineers can make something really spectacular and unforgettable. And especially in a virtual environment, it can change seasonally or every couple of years or whatever it may be, so that there is always the ability to retry. Again, going back on some of the behind the attraction episodes that I've watched at this point, talking that like Disney overheard a lady riding the Jungle Cruise, and she was like, I've done that before. I don't need to go do it again. So it's like, we need to keep these things updated. And so I think that, an idea like this, Disney's always looking for the new thing to do. And if it makes sense between their brand and the opportunity, then they can make something like that work. I think that all of these options, honestly, all 6 of the ones, or maybe 8 that we presented today, are viable options. I have not gotten my imagination or my Imagineer acceptance letter in my email yet. Have you heard back from them yet?
I have not. I'm wondering, maybe they're just on summer vacation. That's what I'm guessing.
That's a good possibility. Yeah, these are C-suite people trying to make these decisions. They take longer vacations than us average Joes. So yeah, I can understand they're probably still on vacation.
Yeah. So, if you've got an idea, let us know. We know these aren't the only ideas, but now let's get to this week's segment of plussing.
Well, this week on plussing, this is something that you and I have actually talked about several times on this show, but I think it bears repeating and then actually having an actual focus in plussing, especially for a Reimagineering episode like we're currently doing, which is go to Disney Plus and watch the series Behind the Attraction. It's such a good series. And I know that you and I mean, we obviously have our stuff together here as budding Imagineers. And so we know what we're doing, but there are a lot of people that may want to become Imagineers that think that it's just going to be easy to create these attractions. But on Behind the Attraction, we see all sorts of attractions as they're being built and all of the hurdles and all of the things that they've run into. And they had to figure out, like, how do we make, okay, we're going to have a jungle cruise, but we can't fill it with actual animals because they're going to sleep half the day and then it won't be fun for people watching it. So now we have to figure out animal animatronics. And thank goodness we just shot this new 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, because we figured out some of the animatronic stuff with the octopus or the squid. And so that a lot, like learning all of that history and then some lore of Disney experiences and what it takes to create these things. I think that Behind the Attraction is such a beautiful way, much like the Imagineering story that we talked about over a year ago, how that shows just the behind the scenes and all what it takes to put something like building a park or even just an attraction, getting that from idea to guests are now experiencing it, all the highs and lows that come along with that. So I couldn't recommend Behind the Attraction highly enough.
Yeah, it goes and it looks at the things that we don't think about, like California's a desert. So how are you going to create this luscious jungle environment in the middle of a desert? They obviously figured out how to do it out in Disneyland. So I couldn't recommend Behind the Attraction enough. Thank you, Chris. And thank you at home, in the car, on your way to vacation, on your way home from vacation, wherever you may be listening to this podcast. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to find us online at themouseandmen.com, where you can get our top 10 things for grown-ups to do at Walt Disney World. You can get links to all of our social media profiles, our YouTube, where we broadcast the podcast. And we all have this creativity, especially as kids, always imagining things and designing things, inventing things. And at some point, I don't know why, but we just kind of, most of us start to lose that. I want to encourage you, hang on to that. Don't grow out of it. Don't grow up too fast.
But whether you're reimagining an entire park or just an attraction, you got to keep exploring.